Today I'm making kunafa. It's an Arab / Mediterranean dessert. I think there's like a bunch of different variations of it. It's basically shredded phyllo pastry dough with sweet cheese in the middle and then drenched in syrup. I remember the first time I had it as a kid, it blew my mind, and it was like, I was obsessed with it. It's all I could think about. I remember one time somebody was trying to explain to me the concept of heaven, and they were telling me like heaven is a place where you can get everything you ever wanted. Like all your favorite things, they'll be there. You can, like anything you think of, you can have. And I remember thinking like, okay, so I could be like Scrooge McDucking in like a pool full of kunafa. I just thought of kunafa, like that is what, literally what heaven meant to me. And as an adult, I don't believe in religion, but still in my mind, kunafa equals heaven. So I have been so excited to make this. I really hope I can do it justice today while I make it. I hope it's gonna turn out good, just as I remember it. I mean, nothing is what you remember it from when you're a kid, but I hope it's still really tasty and yummy. I'm sure it will be. Anything drenched in syrup, I'm sure it's gonna taste good. I'm following a recipe, I'll link it down in the description, but I'm making some changes to it because I also went out and I harvested a bunch of strawberries from my strawberry patch. It's been raining out, so these are super quick to ripen now. I've got to like harvest all of them while I can. I don't want a lot of them to rot in the ground. I don't want it to go to waste. So yeah, I'm gonna try and, I'll definitely garnish the kunafa with strawberries, and I think I'll put it in the syrup as well. And this is like way too much for just this dessert, so I'm gonna probably freeze a bunch of it. I snack on strawberries a lot, so if it's around, it'll probably be gone in a few days, but I think I am gonna be also having like a lot of other strawberries ripening in the garden, and this will be the batch that I freeze. Or at least maybe the first batch. We'll see how much actually comes out of the garden. Okay, so here's the ingredients that I'm using for the kunafa. They do sell shredded phyllo pastry dough. It's often sold under the name of kunafa, and that's I think the Greek way or the Greek name for it, the shredded phyllo. I couldn't find any at the store. I didn't have enough time to go to like the Middle Eastern stores. I found this at Safeway, so I'm gonna try and shred it up. It's just like sheets. It's sheets of phyllo dough. And then I also have fresh mozzarella, queso fresco, which I am letting soak in some water because this is the substitute for sweet cheese. I think the sweet cheese that I have probably grew up eating. I don't know what it is exactly, so I know that like a substitute for that is queso fresco, but I want to just get all the salt out of it, so I'm letting it soak for a couple of hours. And then for the syrup, I am using rose water. This I did get from the Middle Eastern store like a while back. And like a rose syrup is very common in Middle Eastern desserts. I'm gonna add some strawberries to that syrup as well, because I think rose and strawberry, those are kind of like complementary flavors, or at least I hope they do. In my mind they are, and we'll see how it turns out. Oh, I forgot, I also have some butter. I just took this out of the microwave. I melted it down. You can also use ghee, which is clarified butter. If you're not using ghee, if you're using just normal like store-bought butter, make sure you're like mixing it around so that it doesn't get like chunky or all those everything stays together. Okay, so I actually just pulled the phyllo dough out of the freezer. It's kind of breaking as I try to unravel it. I didn't realize there was going to be like plastic around it. My thought was, because I need to turn these sheets into like shredded, just like strings, a bunch of strings. Kind of looks like a bird's nest, you know, what you would imagine a bird's nest is made out of. I thought I was just going to put this in the food processor to try and get like as fine of strands as I could. And I thought, oh, it'd probably be better if it was frozen. But yeah, it's looking like I probably need to thaw it out first before I go ahead and take out the plastic. So I will be back in a little bit. Okay, the dough was all thawed out, and I tried a couple of different ways to get to like a shredded consistency of this phyllo dough. And one of them I just chopped. I tried to get like as thin of pieces as I could. And it turns out like it's too thick. It looks like shredded cheese, kind of thick. No, it doesn't look like shredded cheese. What does this look like? Like a certain kind of pasta. When it should look like thread, really. And then I tried in the food processor to see if I could get like fine shreds, but it just like broke. So it looks more like little tiny flakes. Like it looks like coconut flakes to me. And that's not the right consistency either. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and keep cutting it like this. Yeah, it's a little bit too thick, but oh well, I think it will taste all the same. Okay, my arm hurts. So I think I got it. It's good enough, you know. It also, now I have a bunch of like these long kind of pasta-like strands, but the recipe says that you should cut it into like 1 to 3 inch lengths. So I think I'm just gonna chop a couple of times. And hopefully that's good enough. Okay, I'm just tearing some up in the bowl as well. And then I'm gonna add my melted butter. I'm just gonna stir it a little bit. I shouldn't have gotten a brush to stir it. I was going to just like paint over the sheets with this and then cut it, but then that seemed too messy. So it's about 3/4 of a cup of melted butter or ghee. Then I'm just gonna toss it with my hands. here's how it turned out. It doesn't look how it's supposed to look. Definitely I want to use the shredded phyllo dough, like the ones that come already shredded next time, because something just went wrong with it. Like, it's supposed to look different. Hopefully it still tastes the same. So I just need to put the simple syrup on top. Hopefully it's cool enough. And hopefully it can get in everywhere. Hold on. Maybe I should wait. I think this is wrong.
Alright, well, let me try it this way, and then I'll try it the other way. Oh, that looks good.
It's not right.
It still tastes good.
You know, the cheese is supposed to be sweet.
It's like a... I don't know, it's like a dessert pasta.
Brennan was calling the phyllo dough, the strips that I made, pasta.
You know I love cheese. Need more strawberries.
It's good. I should have waited for this to cool down. I think I will wait for it to cool down to pour the rest of it in, just so that it's like a thicker, sweeter, I don't know, something that just coats and pulls everything together or sticks to everything. The cheese is a lot and it's very savory. I mean, at least Brendan's eating it. I looked away for 1 second and he's gone. He ate it all. So I think it turned out really well. Like, it tastes good. I like the strawberries with the rose water. I think that, like, goes nicely. It's not like a super overpowering amount of strawberries that I put in this. I could have added more strawberries to it, to the simple syrup, but it's okay. Again, also, I need to wait for this to cool down a bit more. Maybe it'll be a little bit more concentrated of a flavor. And I do wish the phyllo pastry was a little more like stringy, and then I don't know, it just gives it a bit of a different texture to bite into, and for like kind of the cheese to seep into as well. The cheese and the syrup to seep into. But anyway, it still tastes really good. I'm glad that I made it. It's not exactly the same as the dessert from my childhood that I remember, but that's okay. And honestly, it's a good thing. Like, I like having that memory as like its own special thing. And maybe, you know, when I do come across the similar kind of kunafa that I ate when I was a kid, it'll be all the more special. At least I can make something that's comparable. And yeah, we're gonna finish dinner and then have the rest of this, or not the rest of this, and then have some more for dessert. Okay, it's the next day. I totally forgot to store my strawberries, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We're snacking on them yesterday and I put them in the freezer. But also, I wanted to talk to you about a few things now that I've had a night's rest. Now that I've had a little time to mull it over and sort of see what I could have done better with the recipe yesterday, I wanted to tell you what those things are. Just in case you decide to make this recipe, I think there are a few things that you really should do, that I really implore you to do if you're gonna make this recipe. Like, obviously it's good, it's yummy, the flavors are all there. Brendan inhaled his piece, but this is like a special like food for me, so I want it to be even better next time I make it, which I do think I am gonna do like an attempt number 2, but I'm gonna wait like a month to do it, just because it's such a like heavily sweet dessert that I just cannot do that to my body right now. I'm trying to be a little bit healthier. Anyways, where was I? So number 1, definitely for sure use the shredded phyllo pastry dough. So kunafa, it's called kunafa. It's like you'll find it where you find phyllo pastry, I think, in the freezer section of your store. Probably go to like a specialty store, like either a halal or Middle Eastern grocery market, or like a Greek market if you have it, or a Greek bakery, or someplace that you think you'll get it. I might order it online if I can't find it here for the next time I make this recipe, because I think that part is so important. Maybe the way that I shredded it would have worked if I did it a little bit finer. And also what went wrong was I think I poured the butter in too hot, the melted butter. I like had it right from the microwave that I poured it in, and I think it like melted and started to cook the dough a little bit, because these are such like thin sheets. I think it started to cook, and then it all started to like mush together. So really the consistency of it should be like a bird's nest. I don't know, I probably said it a lot, like, but if I might show a picture of like a certain kind of like baklava, or how I would expect it to look, a kunafa, normal kunafa to look. That's what the consistency should be like. And I think mine just got packed, like smushed together too much, and it didn't have like the same volume or crunchiness. That crunchiness is really important. And juxtaposed with like the sweetness, like with that syrup all over it at the end, it's supposed to feel a certain way when you eat it. So I think that was a mistake, and I also think I used way too much cheese. I actually used a little less cheese than the recipe called for, just because it seemed like a lot. I could have done it on a bigger baking pan as well. And I think probably if I used the right phyllo like texture, then it might have been better for the amount of cheese that was there. Just because I think, yeah, it would be more volume if it was actually shredded and not like just like mixed and kind of melted together the way that it was for me. Yeah, and less cheese. And I think also, so sweet cheese, it's supposed to use sweet cheese, the recipe. It's supposed to use like an Arabic sweet cheese. I know like for Palestinian kunafa, they use like Nablus cheese, which maybe I can find in my like a local Arab market here. I will try next time I make this to like go through a lot of stores to see what I can find to get the right recipe. But I think if I can't find that, I will use ricotta cheese instead of the queso. I think the sweetness of the syrup would kind of like mix in better with something a little bit more creamy like ricotta. So I would try that. So ricotta cheese instead of queso, and less cheese overall. And yeah, I think that's it. That's it for the things that I would change. Overall, it's still really yummy. I'm glad I made it. I'm glad I had this experience too and learned from it. So hopefully if you guys want to make this, I hope you do have watched this and got those tips to make it. But yeah, anyways, let me go ahead and like prepare my strawberries for freezing. So the first time I had like my strawberry garden when I moved into this house, and we got so many strawberries and I decided to freeze them, it did not turn out the best. So the thing that I would advise anybody who's who has a big strawberry garden, is trying to store their strawberries, learn from my mistake the first year and freeze them individually first. And what I mean by that is put them along a tray, not clumped together, like spread out on a tray, and put that in the freezer. And then after it's like fully frozen and not wet anymore, put it in a Ziploc bag or vacuum sealed bag, and then store that in the freezer. So that way you can have it all in a bag all together like that, but they won't freeze together, and it won't be one big like brick of strawberries at the end when you want to use it, when you take it out. So I washed all my strawberries. I am just pulling out the top part, the top green part, and laying them across this tray, and I'll get them frozen. Okay, I got them all prepped. I actually think maybe this is even too much. I'm gonna save like a handful just for us to snack on today. And probably tomorrow I'll be able to go and harvest even more strawberries out from the garden. This I'm just gonna, okay, maybe just like a little bit more, because I don't want them to be touching. I'm sure if they would, before I put it in a bag, I can break them apart a little bit, but just in case. Some of the strawberries are a little bit moldy already. Like, strawberries really don't like last a long time in my experience. So I pulled those out, but even if strawberries are mushy, I'm freezing them anyways. They're gonna be like extra sweet, honestly, for the things that I use them for in the future. And anyways, when you freeze like fruit like strawberries, it's not gonna have the same texture coming out so when you unfreeze it. So they're not gonna be like firm like strawberries are, like fresh strawberries are. They're gonna be a little mushy anyways, so yeah, once that started to get mushy, totally fine. Okay, it's been about an hour or so. I don't know, I forgot to keep track of the time. I was just out doing some garden work, but they feel frozen. And that's really all that matters. I just don't want them to freeze together. And I'm just gonna take like a gallon bag. And then I'll probably be adding to this throughout like the next week or two as my strawberries come into season and I have too much to eat or do anything with. And I can keep this in the freezer, and when I take them out, they're all gonna be like still separate like they are now. Whereas if I didn't like pre-freeze them individually, they would just freeze in a clump, and that's super, super annoying to deal with. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get back to chores. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the recipe. If you try it, definitely take note of those edits that I made afterwards, the postmortem. And I hope it turns out great. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.